Hello, boys and girls. My name is Mysterio, and I am back with a guide for the newest champion in League of Legends. I personally have had a lot of fun trying her out in the PvE practice tool, and there's a couple of really cool things that I found that I'm excited to show you guys. So let's go ahead and get started with her abilities before we level up. So her passive, when she attacks an enemy with a shield, she will siphon off some of that shield and give it to herself. She'll also get a movement speed whenever she gets a shield. I think this is going to have a lot of really good uses, especially since shield bow is very popular and most of the enchanters that are played have shields, as well as a lot of the bruisers. Almost everybody builds Sterix or has a set W, so yeah, that's good. Now her Q is her bread and butter. It's a lot like an Ezreal Q, in the sense that it's a very, very spammable skill shot. This is her basic attack. She doesn't really have a basic attack as we know it. She fires a burst of rounds in a target direction, and they stop on the first target hit. However, the rounds count as individual bullets. So if the target dies, whatever remaining rounds there are will hit the next target. Or the target behind it if they're in range. That scales with only AD. Her actual basic attack is an electrical zap. That deals... It deals magic damage, but when it's charged, which is this orange bar you see underneath her, that's her charge timer, or charge bar. It hits for a lot more. It scales with levels, and it goes from low damage at 3% to 20% max health damage at level 18. That's a lot. And she doesn't even need to build anything for that. So, needless to say, you want to save that for when you're charged. Now, if a target's below 35% HP, you'll do a little bit of extra damage if you're not at full charge, compared to having no charge. Her W is just a laser, and it damages and slows the first enemy hit. As you can see, it's much like Jinx's, except for how it interacts with the terrain on the map. When it hits terrain, it expands, and rather than hitting a single target, it will now deal the same effect, but in a big AoE square. Her E is a dash that enhances her next 3 Q casts. They will pierce the first enemy hit and hit enemies behind them for reduced damage. However, that damage scales up, so at rank 5, you're now dealing 100% of the damage. It can crit, but it will not apply on-hit effects to the second target's hit. When you would hit an enemy with an attack or ability, specifically an enemy champion, you'll reduce the cooldown of the dash. If she dashes into terrain, she will vault onto it and grind to the other side, which in and of itself is pretty cool. but it interacts with some of her other abilities. I'll save that for when I actually get there. Her ultimate is a big AoE explosion around her. It scales with both AD and AP, and it grants a stack of overcharge, 3 stacks of overcharge for each champion hit, and it grants those stacks for 6 seconds. Each stack of overcharge will give you bonus move speed. This is 2% move speed. And hitting an enemy champion with an attack or ability will add an additional stack of overcharge and refresh the duration of your current stacks by 2 seconds. This is an ult extension, much in the same way that Master Yi and Vayne extend theirs with takedowns. However, hers is contingent on her being able to actually hit a target. She also gains steroids for herself in additional attack speed, magic damage on hit, and her Q becomes a very fast triple shot that will chain both the bonus magic damage that it gives you and additional physical damage to the nearby enemies of the target that you hit. That's it for her abilities. These interact in some very cool ways. So let's get some levels here. Now, she actually starts, much like Azir, Yumi, or some of the Transformers, with a point in her Q already. That is her bread and butter ability. So you can't troll and start a game with a W. Let's go show off some of those abilities here. So this is her Q. Now the cooldown of it scales with attack speed. However, her attack speed actually has a cap at 1.5. Anything over that will be converted into AD at 50% of the excess into raw AD. So this does put a bit of a cap on the DPS that she can do, because she can never exceed 1.5, but that bonus AD gets kind of crazy with the attack speed. It's pretty intense, and I'll show you guys what I mean in a little bit. So this is her W. It's just like a Jinx, unless it hits terrain, and then it turns into a laser. Now, other than just hitting all targets in the area and gaining additional range, it doesn't like increase the damage exponentially or make the slow even bigger. It's just the same thing, just more range and a bigger hitbox. This is her E. Just a short range dash, like Graves. And it enhances her Q. You can notice the bullets are now passing through the target dummy, whereas before they just stop on it. So it gives her a decent amount of damage against grouped targets. Which, I mean, being an ADC, everybody's going to be climbing over each other to get to you, so that's a good thing. Now, if you cast her dash into a wall or terrain, she grinds it. That is honestly, that's just fun to do. Unlike Akshan, it doesn't reset on takedowns, but by hitting a target with attacks or abilities, she can reduce the cooldown. And it's 1.5 per hit. So it's decent, but it's not an absurd reset like some other champs that we know, i.e. Vex, Ult, Akshan E. I think you guys know what I mean.
No way I let them down.
Her ult can only... It's only useful if it hits an enemy. If I ult and I hit nothing, it's a wasted ult. It doesn't give me move speed, it doesn't anything. You can't ult and run away. You have to hit a target. You'll notice now I have stacks. And I'm overcharged. Hitting gives me additional stacks. And this makes it really, really good to kite, because move speed is everything to be able to kite. You need to be able to get away from everybody that wants to end you. Now let's go back to the fountain and look at a couple of items. Now, she is a marksman, so I do recommend that you take a marksman mythic. In this case, Kraken Slayer or Shield Bow I think are the best. If you're confident in your ability to kite and they don't have like a Zed or something that can just ult you and you die, Kraken Slayer is good. Especially because so far, I like to run an on-hit focused build. This is Kraken Slayer, Bork, and Gnasher's Tooth. Now, the Gnasher's Tooth is... I like the split damage of it. You could just go raw AD. However, this gives her a lot more damage on her passive Q basic attack, as well as her ultimate, which has 80% and 15% bonus on hit magic damage, which does stack with the Gnasher's Tooth passive, so that's even more on hit. I also recommend taking Zerker Greaves, and if the game goes on long enough, I would recommend getting a Gwynsu's, and since your Q is an ability, and it is very spammable, I would recommend Essence Reaver maybe, just for that nice Sheen passive. Zeri doesn't have great mana, but since her Q has no cost, and that's your bread and butter ability, you don't need to worry about it as much. But final item it kind of ends up up to your personal choice. In this case, you know what, I think I'll go with a Phantom Dancer for fun reasons. Or you know what? We could go, since I was talking about mana issues, with a Manamune. Now, I just stacked my runes and tier all the way, so I've got my Ravenous stacks, Impact, or Impact doesn't stack, but my Bloodline, etc. So this is 342 AD, which is a lot. And you'll notice that my attack speed is at 1.5, but I've got 264%.
If it matters to my team, it matters to me.
This is that cap that I was talking about. And I want you guys to look at my AD while I'm attacking this dummy. I'm currently running Lethal Tempo. When I start attacking this dummy, I gain stacks of Lethal Tempo, because the Q does count as a basic attack, and it procs on hit effects, but since I can't overcome that damage cap, that all gets converted into AD. So I go from, what was it, I think it was like 332? 342. I go from 342 to 347. That is more than 100 bonus AD just for stacking Lethal Tempo. This is crazy. Now I think this makes her into a fantastic late game champ. Especially since, I mean, that additional bonus AD that makes her continue to hit harder. It's like an even better version of Conqueror for Zeri. Like, my ult will now hit even harder than it would before. You'll notice that now that the stacks are running down, my damage has gone back down.
This won't be perfect, but life never is.
It's fantastic. I think it's going to be great. I also tried running Press the Attack, because her Q does proc that, and that is also some very good burst damage if you aren't looking for completely start to finish fights, essentially. Now, this is her basic attack. That's the charged ability that I was talking about. When she moves or attacks an enemy, that bar will fill up, and she'll deal bonus damage and slow the target. If she does it before then, it's kinda meh. But it uses up a little charge to deal some damage, but full charge, boom, that's a 480 damage nuke. That's max HP magic damage. And that's not even scaling for my AP. Now, for the fun stuff that I learned. When she's grinding, she can't use her Q. You'll notice that her Q becomes unavailable to use. However, if you guys were looking at the ability page, you might notice her W does not go on cooldown. So you can cast that while grinding along walls. I think this is going to make for some very exciting and interesting outplays with the way the map is shaped.
Gotta hurry. People need my spark.
She can also ult while grinding. Now this could be good if you're trying to reposition in a fight and enemies are here. Let's actually set up some dummies. Dummy.
I'm all in.
You're trying to reposition. You grind over here. You ult. You hit both of them, and you're good. Now, with her W, it will actually cast from where you started your cast. However, when it goes off, it'll go in the direction of the cursor relative to where Zeri is. So if I try to ult... Hang on, I've been doing this too long. If I try to ult... Oh man, I might not be able to mess up intentionally anymore. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Might have done this a little too much practice. Essentially, you want to aim just slightly in front of her when you go, because the cast is delayed. If you wait until you're even. Then yeah, you'll miss the target.
One's not broken yet. Keep it that way. Here it comes. Boom. No holding back.
Let's show you guys the enhanced
Over already.
autos from the ult before we finish this.
No way I let them down.
Alright, so if you remember, I mentioned that when she ults, her attacks become enhanced and will allow chain lightning between nearby enemies.
Wow, intense.
But
Man, I should have backed one.
if you ult and then E, you'll increase your DPS. Now, I know this isn't the greatest. I'm still relatively new to this. However, if you guys did enjoy this short educational tidbit, do let me know. I do kind of like making these things. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.